Time to visit with Orioles minor league manager Gary Kendall. He's really one of the longest tenured guys in player development for the Orioles. I've known Gary a long time. He's been 20 years in the Oriole organization and managing at various places since 2004, many years, 8 years at Bowie, last year at Norfolk, and this year, hopefully there will be a year on the farm at Norfolk again. And Gary, welcome in. How's it going?
It's going great, Steve. I've been very fortunate for the last 20-something years, and the organization's been very good to me and very lucky, and hopefully there is some baseball, as you said.
Well, I've said it many times. I know few people who love the Orioles as much as you. I mean, you're from Baltimore, Sparrows Point High. You're in the Hall of Fame there, and you scouted, I think, it briefly for the Orioles. You've coached for the Orioles. You've managed. I mean, it's not just a job for you. It's a little more than that, isn't it?
No, there's a lot of passion for the ball club. You know, growing up, and especially those years that I was a kid, the great years, you know, the latter part of the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, and the dominance that Baltimore had, and the way they developed players and what they put on the field. And, you know, I was very fortunate to wind up coaching with a lot of the former greats that I saw when I was a kid. And, you know, the McGregors and even Tippy Martinez back when I was at Towson as an assistant coach. So there's been a lot of guys, Mo Dabrowski, Andy Etchebarren, the list goes on. And just to be around those guys and the stories and, you know, how they really went back and looked over their careers as Orioles and how they never wanted to leave. And it wasn't about money. It was about the camaraderie and being a team and knowing each year you were going to go to spring training and have a great chance to win a really tough American League East back when the American League East involved more clubs than even it exists today. So it was quite a feat and an accomplishment, and it's nice to know those guys.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, it's funny, Gary. I don't think I've maybe ever asked you this question, but who are some, going way back to when you were just starting out as in baseball, who are some influences? Were there a lot of Oriole people who factored in there?
Well, I mean, as far as like who did I model after and who did I really enjoy watching play was Brooks Robinson and Mark Belanger. I mean, to go out to Memorial Stadium and back when, you know, batting practice was going on and they used to take infield, you just would watch Belanger and Robinson or Bobby Gritch or Dave Johnson and Boop Powell, that infield and how they used to take infield and the pride that they used to take, you know, and how they used to maneuver around the field. And you learned. It was like learning, seeing how they did things, especially Belanger and Robinson. And then, you know, you'd see the way the pitchers trained, how Palmer used to condition and, you know, the McGregors, the Flanagans, the Steve Stones, and, you know, guys like that, Dave McNally. You know, it was just it was a tough club to make for guys that were probably in Rochester at the time. You know, all the guys they kept out of the big leagues with that team that was just would come back year after year, but probably Brooks and Belanger. I thought Brooks Robinson, still think, you know, just from meeting him and knowing him, and one of the greatest individuals you could ever meet, and what an example of a ball player. And Belanger, just for the simple fact that nobody played that position like the Blade, and he was just a favorite of mine. I got to know him actually when I was over at Towson, and he would come around a lot. Robbie, one of his children, I knew and coached, and so I got a chance to meet Mark. That was quite a treat.
We've been doing this a couple minutes, and I think my readers and viewers already know, Gary, why I love talking baseball with you. It pours through the passion you have, and so you love the Orioles so much that it must be great for you as a manager to promote players to the Orioles. You've even got to do it at Bowie, of course, and you got to do it at Norfolk. Yeah. What is that like? Is there any one or two encounters that comes to mind, or what is it like when you get to tell a player you're about to join the Orioles?
Well, sometimes, you know, when you get that call, sometimes you have to do it immediately. And sometimes they want, you know, you might find out in the morning and you wait for them to come to the park, or it just depends on, you know, how it's done and the timely fashion that it's done. Sometimes it's in an evening, sometimes it's 3 a.m. when the club's on the West Coast and you get that call and you got to get with your trainer but it fills you up with just a lot of joy. You want to, you want to do more, you know, and actually you get a little deflated when after you do it, and then of course, you know, you go to the ballpark, and what if it's not done at the ballpark, and you feel kind of deflated that that's over, and you can't wait for the next one to come through. But it's certainly a joy, and you know, it's when I look at some of the guys, you know, the Machados and the Michael Givenses of the world, and then you look at maybe some of the guys like Asher Tolliver, guys that really battle through their minor league career through injuries. And sometimes that's to let the Machados or their guys, Caleb Joseph, because of the time. You've seen them when it's been very trying. Brandon Klein was an example of that this year. I saw what Brandon went through. I was when he got hurt, in the obstacles that he overcame, and same way with Asher. And to be able to deliver that message, and then to be around those teammates that both of them, when both of them were promoted, it was a clubhouse atmosphere, and you know, people put their little bit, you know, because it's not them, they put that aside. And they were so happy. I mean, there were tears when Asher Tolliver was promoted, tears from his teammates, not just from him, because he was a well-liked guy, well-respected guy. And it's just, you know, it's what you dream about. You know, it's what these players dream about. There are down times you don't think it's going to happen, but they were incredibly persistent. So those moments I cherish as much as telling the guy that, you know, it's just a matter of time that he may be going to the big leagues, you know?
Very cool. Gary, one thing that I wanted to bring up today, and we're going back a few years now, 2012, late summer, Double-A Bowie. The Orioles are in a race to try to make the playoffs. They got a hotshot kid who's playing shortstop for the Bay Sox named Manny Machado. We know it's a matter of not when, or not if, but when he's going to go. Well, the Orioles decided now's the time to go. We're bringing this kid from Bowie. Not only are we bringing him from Bowie, we're moving him from short to third. And it seemed like behind the scenes there, you were part of a group that quickly tried to help Manny get schooled at third base. Can you take me back to that time? What was it like those few days?
Well, I remember the call, you know, it came from Buck, and it was a call that Bobby Dickerson was on at that time. Bobby was our infield guy, and Brian Graham was our farm director. There was a lot of involvement from those two and a lot of hard work by Bobby Dickerson. And, you know, the call was made. They wanted to keep it hush-hush. And, of course, you were around the ballpark because it was an exciting group of guys. I mean, to have Jonathan Scope and Manny Machado, and we had a loaded ball club. And we were supposed to keep it kind of on a down low. So we came up with times that they would come to the ballpark. And there was a lot of involvement from other players. So in other words, we just didn't take Manny to third base by himself at 12:30 in the afternoon. We involved, you know, a good organizational player of Buck Britton, who is one of our managers now. And Buck would go to third base along with Manny, along with Jonathan, and we would do certain drills. So it didn't really can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. We lost
it got a little slow there for a minute, but I think we're hearing you.
Yeah, a little power surge. But anyway, you know, we took these players out there every day and, you know, worked on balls to the left, balls to the right, different things that would come up in a ball game, learning the position. You know, Manny was well-schooled as an infielder, very talented. So athletically, it wasn't going to be that much of a challenge. And then, you know, just to see him evolve once he got to the big leagues. And we were in Altoona when actually the phone call, we lost a tough ball game. We were entering the hotel parking lot when the phone rang by Buck. And John Stockstill at that time was in charge of our minor league. So he was calling me while Buck was calling me. And so it was like, you know, trying to get information from both, but they wanted me to let him know in the parking lot and get him squared away and get him off back to Baltimore. So it was a lot of fun. And of course, you know, to do it in the parking lot. And then of course, the word spread with the players and There was a lot of happiness from all those guys, and Matty was a little shocked. But I think the work that was put in, you know, I know Bobby spent a lot of time with us. Brian Graham came in, spent a lot of time with us, just about the position itself and the do's and don'ts. And, you know, one of the things that I brought up to Buck, and Buck, of course, certainly knew, was the fact that, you know, he was going to go to Baltimore and play third base. And it wasn't so much they were happy with their third baseman. They just thought it was time, and they were going to move. I think we had Mark Reynolds at the time, and he was going to maybe move to first base and get some innings there in DH. But it was when Manning was going to go to the big leagues, who he was going to play next to, and that was really, really important. If there would have been an experienced shortstop up there, somebody like himself, I don't know if they would have felt as well about making that move at that time. But knowing the fact that he was going to go up there and play with one of the most astute shortstops that were going in American League, and such a teacher, and what a great environment to play next to that guy, J.J. Hardy. That's why I think that transition, what he didn't know when he left Bowie, he certainly was going to know when he got to Baltimore. And that was just a good combination. So, you know, once he went up there, of course, you know, we spoke a lot. Bowie got a lot of attention, and we were talking a lot to reporters and stuff. And they questioned, you know, whether he could play third base at the big league level. And I really never had any doubt. One of the things that did surprise me was the arm that he never showed at short, that he showed at third. And I mean, I knew he had a good arm, above average arm, but at shortstop, he throttled back at times and just did enough to get people out. And it wasn't, of course, he never played a full season there in Bowie, so I never really saw the amount of plays that he could make at short. But once he went over to third base, I was in amazement. The agility and the arm angles and the different strengths that he had from over the top, sidearm, submarine, and just the agileness and the reach. That's what was another thing. I mean, if you really looked at Manny, what he couldn't get to with his feet, he could get to with his arms, and he had incredible reach over at third base. And of course, you know, the rest is history. But it was a really nice night to promote a well-deserved player, and he took it well. And he was a great teammate. You know, I know when people leave your franchise, or they leave your Bowie and to go on to the big leagues, and you know, he was always asking about players that, when I saw him at the big league level, how they were doing in the minor leagues. And I know Jonathan Scope, his running mate and his double play combination, he was the same way. They were very good, and they were very good Orioles. And it's unfortunate that he's now no longer an Oriole, but he was a good teammate and a good guy in the clubhouse. And he found his niche, and he was there with a lot of veteran players that, you know, took to him, and it was just a good year.
And it worked out well, that move. They made the playoffs. He was part of bringing winning back to Baltimore, and hopefully that's coming again. And Gary, just in the short time we have left, because obviously you're a link to administration before Mike Elias got here, but obviously you saw what Mike and his front office had put in place on the farm. What was the transition like, and how is it worked out?
Well, I mean, last year, I mean, Mike was great. He came down to Norfolk, was very positive. He had his thumb on the pace of the organization. I mean, he knew what was going on. He was up to speed. He knew about the players. A lot of tremendous amount of research by him and his front office. But he was very positive, and he just wants us to go out there and develop that player to the fullest. And he's behind us. And so, I mean, when he came to Norfolk, there was, you know, certainly guys wanted to impress, and guys, you know, played before the general manager of the ball club. But it was a very relaxing time. He sat in the office. He gave us a lot of information. He gave us a lot of positive feedback by how things were going, and he liked how things were going, which made us all very happy. But he also let us know that we have a long road to go. and he lets us know that, and we do as an organization. But as far as like how things have changed, I mean, he's continued to hire, and our office has continued to hire, and they put together a real good team, not just with baseball people, but with analysts and research people. There's a lot of things that are being put into the players' development. And I haven't been outside this organization, and I know analytics is a big part of what we do now. But I really believe that we're probably second to none when it comes to providing information, not only just information, but information that we can use to help a player get better. And that's really what it is. And there's certain things, I mean, it's trial and error. There's certain things you do that don't work, and it's back to the drawing board. And there's, so there's always that persistence to get this going in the right direction. So I think that they just want our hard work. They want our cooperation, and they want us to be very open-minded to a lot of things, because, and it's exciting. You mentioned that I've been here a long time, but it's funny because I feel like a rookie because of the fact that I haven't been with this group a long time. So as they get into Baltimore and they put their stamp on this ball club, we employees, we're new to it, and we want to get on board, and we want to learn. It's about a growth mindset, and so I've enjoyed it. I really have. And it seems like there's a great energy, a great vibe, and let's get back and play baseball.
Let's do that. That's hopefully a step coming before too long. Well, Gary, always love talking baseball with you. Look forward to seeing you at a ballpark real soon, and thanks for doing this today.
Please stop down to Norfolk, will you, Steve?
You got it. See you real soon, my friend.
You got it. Thank you.